and welcome back to STL Live Election Special. I'm Robin Boyce, and I'm now joined by A.J. Bockleman, Assistant Director of Empower Missouri. Did I get it right, A.J.?
You did, yes.
Okay, great. I hope so. Thank you so much for coming in tonight and
you.
talking with us on this election night, which is pretty exciting.
It is.
This is a pretty huge election for St. Louis with so many people running and so many issues that are going on in the St. Louis area. But tell us about, what is Empower Missouri?
So Empower Missouri is a social justice public policy organization dedicated to improving the lives of middle income, low income, and those living below poverty.
Great. So you do what kinds of services? Are legal or?
So essentially, we're an advocacy organization.
Okay.
We're based out of Jefferson City. We have chapters all around the state.
All right.
Our St. Louis chapter meets once a month. They put on a monthly forum about common issues in our region. For example, January's forum was about TIF and tax abatement.
Okay, yes.
The one coming up is actually about change in policing.
Excellent. That's the one coming up, what, for?
That's coming up on March 10th over at the Highlands Golf Course starting at 11:30.
Excellent, excellent. Okay, I've been to some of your forums. They are very informative. They're like social services, social justice kinds of issues that you discuss and you expand on. Now, the programs and services that Empower provides are through a St. Louis chapter as well that you have here?
Correct.
Great. And the issues also that you deal with, you address, what kind of other issues that you address in the
So common issues in our region, in the St. Louis region, support for things like the minimum wage. We're going to be making sure that we both work on two sides of that, making sure that we uphold it here in the city of St. Louis, as the Supreme Court just said that it was approved and it's going to be going into effect. We also know that the state legislature is making moves to try to stop it from going into effect. So we're working on both sides of that.
So on the state legislative side, where you know you've got issues there in Jefferson City, what would your group do? Go up there to lobby those people, or you go to talk to some of those folks to make sure that they vote your way, or what? How do you do that?
So we'll be in front of them to make sure that they understand the issues and how it impacts the everyday Missourian, the individuals who are going to be most impacted. For example, Senate Bill 28 was just laid over today, and it was a coalition of groups, Missouri Healthcare for All leading the charge there, but Empower Missouri was there as well, supporting the efforts to make sure that Medicaid is not cut in our state, because that impacts so many of the individuals around the region.
And in Medicaid, of course, expansion did not happen in Missouri. Is that correct?
Correct.
Now, how much did that really affect the Missouri constituency?
Well, unfortunately, what happens whenever Medicaid is cut or access to services, period, you have people who then are ending up in the emergency rooms for basic preventative care, or even just they get sick enough that it takes much more to bring them back from being so ill. They're not necessarily taking care of their basic preventative
So the
service.
prevention kinds of things from medicine, people are not getting, like going to a primary care doctor.
Right.
They can't afford to do that? Is what's going on, because they don't have that Medicaid or that,
Typically, Medicaid is covering
insurance
individuals
to help them out to do that?
Typically, Medicaid is covering people who are at, I believe, 150% of the poverty level, so making less than roughly $15,000 a year as an individual.
So that really would have helped if expansion had happened here in Missouri.
Correct.
This
More
past-
people would have been covered.
More folks would have been covered. Would that have also created more jobs for Missouri as well?
Well, certainly healthcare industry is a thriving industry in our state, but we've seen the healthcare industry take hits as well. Since we did not expand Medicaid, we have a crisis in our rural regions where access to healthcare, people are driving much further to access a hospital or even basic care services.
Yeah, I'm hearing and reading that some people in outstate Missouri are having problems being able to get to a doctor or get to the kind of services because they can't really afford those private doctors that are available there, and they need clinics, and they're not in those areas.
Right.
But if Medicaid had been expanded, those kind of services could have been available in those areas, or at least a lot more accessible.
A lot more accessible. There's a projection that we're going to see up to 20% of local hospitals close over the next 5 to 10 years.
Really?
Local hospitals throughout the rural parts of our state.
That's not a good thing, is it?
No, it is not.
Okay, all right. Stay with us, and we'll be right back with A.J. Bockleman about what's going on with Medicaid expansion and some of the other things here in the St. Louis area. We'll be right back.